I just did a whole video and I hadn't pressed record. This time we'll give it a whirl. Yeah, look, farewell to Chris Bailey, and it happened to pass away on April the 9th, so it's only recent, only less than 2 weeks ago, and just thought I'd do a bit of a send-off, and he wasn't a good friend of mine or anything, so I'm not in any great amount of grief, but he's a legend of the rock and roll scene in Brisbane, punk rock. They didn't like the label punk rock. He never particularly liked the label. You can see him talk about that over years, but it stuck. It stuck that the Saints were punk, and so they were punk before the Sex Pistols and the Ramones, or around the same time, but really Brisbane people like to, Australian people, you know, maybe it's our insecurity, but we want to be better. We were first, and that maybe it's just true. It was first, you know, the Saints were. Godfathers of punk, Chris Bailey, rest in peace. To describe Chris Bailey, yeah, I made the shirt myself. The Saints, they were never on the Interceptor Records label. I didn't even know if it's a real label. I don't know much about it. The Saints, R.I.P. Chris. To describe Chris, we use words like versatile, charismatic. He's a thinker. He's definitely a thinker. I mean, a lot of good songwriters are thinkers. They're able to think quite a bit and think in a different way about things, and tongue-in-cheek. And I'll read out a bit of the lyrics from the second album. The opening line is an absolute perler. Know your product. If you haven't heard it, type in YouTube, Know Your Product, or Spotify, or wherever you get your music. Know Your Product by the Saints, and you'll know it's a hell of an intro. Yeah, right, sing it up West Coast. Too much. I'm sitting in my chair when a voice comes on the air. Says, why don't you try it? You feel alright. Got some great new brand of smoke. Cool your head and clear your throat. Keep you young and so in touch. Cheap advertising, you're lying. You're never gonna get me what I want. I said smooth talking, brainwashing. You're never gonna get me what I need. That's the spirit of the Saints coming out in that song, really. And the spirit of punk rock. It's obnoxious, and it's a FU to the media. FU to the fans as well sometimes, you know, because fans of music can be a bit sort of fickle. 1 minute they love you, next minute, oh, I don't like it. And I'm sure plenty of the punks from the early days, when the Saints put out their 1986 album, which was much more mainstream and sort of melodic and quite a talented album, different, you know, not as punk, not as thrashy, called All Fool's Day. All Fool's Saints or something? No, All Fool's Day. Anyway, look, it's an amazing album as well. And again, the first song on that 3 albums, the first song on the first album, I'm Stranded, is called I'm Stranded. The first song on the Saints, Eternally Yours, was Know Your Product. The first song on the third album was Just Like Firewood. All 3. Very clever marketing, because all 3 albums, their best song, the standout track, you could say, especially Know Your Product, the standout track was first, and that was a blow you away track, you know, especially I'm Stranded and Know Your Product. You know, Just Like Firewood, yeah, it's more just a melodic punk, what do you call it, pub rock sort of song, and it's got a huge following as well. But it gave them a whole lot more different fans, from more mainstream. It gave them a lot more mainstream access. They could then get their music on mainstream radio. They could tour. You look, it made a lot of sense as far as surviving. You're going to make a living out of music. So, did they sell out the third album? Yeah, probably. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. That's my opinion. If you don't like it, go listen to the third album and tell me it's a thrashy, edgy, obnoxious punk rock album. It isn't. It's much milder, right? So I'm just talking about the reality, my opinion. And All Fool's Day, yeah, 1986. Great album though. I'm not rubbishing the third album. I love it. I probably prefer the more melodic stuff, but also love the thrashy stuff, the earlier days. And yeah, so rest in peace to Chris. And if you've enjoyed this video, yeah, by all means subscribe, and give you a little sample of the intro to Know Your Product. West Coast. Sing it up West Coast. you haven't heard that song, it's time you go and get it. One more time, Know Your Product by the Saints. You'll also, if you're very lucky to go looking for it, you might find a cover, Know Your Product by the legendary Blowhard and Rollo. So there you go. He did spend some time in the early days when he struggled in Paris and London. He talks about that in an interview done last year, that he was sleeping a bit rough, including those cinemas, like the CD cinemas. They only play for 24 hours. So you go into a porn cinema and have a nap, maybe in the middle of the day or during the night, depends on how much partying you were doing. But you imagine coming off a big bender of drink and waking up in a porn cinema, you're going to feel a bit seedy and you're probably going to want to leave, but you might do what you have to do before you leave. We're only human, hey? So there's a bit of controversy brought in the sex, drugs and rock and roll. Sex, drugs and rock and roll, terrible, all bad, it's all bad, bad, yeah, come on. Anyway, thanks for watching, enjoy your weekend.